human reality as we see it and as we know it currently. It's a reality based on fear. And this fear makes one unconscious of how things really are, because ultimately there is a fear of truth. This entire human reality as we know it right now is based primarily on a fear of truth. So it seems like there is something deep within our human psyche that we fear to recognize, we fear to remember, we fear to become aware of. And that thing that we fear, it seems like it's a true thing. And we fear it, but it is a true thing. And because we are fearing it, there is a mechanics within our human psyche that does everything that it can to hide our awareness from that thing, to make us not see it, not recognize it, not remember it. And because we are living in such a constant denial of that true thing that we are scared of, much of our true perception of reality is skewed, because we are not seeing things as they are, but instead we are seeing a distorted and skewed version of reality, which is not the real one. So this entire human reality is based on fear. And the entire human society is based on fear. The entire human groups and human collectives, they only come together to defend each other from the same base fear existing at the core of everyone, of all of them. So why groups exist in the human realm is to protect each other, to hide together from the same truth. It's a mutual protection, it's a mutual hiding from the same thing that we all are scared about. And we can't remember the thing, because that's the point. Our psyche does everything that it can to protect us from that memory. And when one fears, one would do anything to protect itself from that fear. So when one fears truth, one would do anything to protect itself from that truth. This is why we are so blind. This is why most human beings will not admit to the atrocities that are happening in this realm, and they prefer to close their eyes, because by closing their eyes they are buying for themselves some protection, some mutual protection from that fear that exists at the core of them, because they know that if they would go against the establishments of this society, they would be left all alone, and there would be nothing left from society to protect them from that fear that they fear. So it's a paradox. They are finding themselves in a paradox, and we are all finding ourselves in this paradox. Like on the one hand, this society is freaking killing us, our spirit, our soul, our mind and our body. The unnaturality of how people live here surpasses any imagination. Our life is so unnatural. It's like we have turned life upside down, inside out. It's like wearing your skin in the reverse. This is how unnatural this reality is. Humanity has made, this reality to be. But even so, even though we all feel this pain of this unnaturality, very few, quite very, very, very few of us have the courage to say something about it. Because deep within our psyche, there is this knowing that if we stand up against this unnaturality, we have to stand up against the very means of defense and protection that they are hiding us, and they are helping us guard ourselves from that terrible truth that we are fearing to remember and recognize. So we need society. We need society and society's madness to paradoxically guard us from that fear that we fear. So we become silent, so we don't say nothing at all. When we see something bad happening, we keep our mouth shut. Even to ourselves, we start convincing ourselves that in fact this reality is not that bad. Things are not that bad, and maybe things are sometimes even good. We start convincing ourselves of this. Just because we are in fact too afraid to recognize the unnaturality that we are living under. We are too afraid to deal with that. And there are too few people, too few resources, too few sources and examples of human beings who have decided to deal with that unnaturality. And first of all, to recognize it for what it is. To recognize the unnaturality is the first step. To have any chance at perhaps sometime, someday, somehow heal it or restore it to its natural sense. But only few, very, very, very few, have the courage to even recognize that the world that we are living in is freaking unnatural. Is almost the epiphany of terror and of unnaturality. And only few beings have had the courage to recognize this for themselves, at least. If not as well for the others around. Most people will fight almost to their death to not even recognize to themselves that this world that we are living in is unnatural. They will protect this world, sometimes with their lives. They will protect this unnaturality, sometimes with their life. And that's because of that core fear that is and exists at the core of them. seems that there can only be a conscious choice. And for some time, there can only be an individual waking up. For the first part of the journey, it seems like an individual has to do this waking up and recognizing the unnaturality, and then finding ways to allow its own psyche to sink to the fact of this unnaturality more and more. At first, it seems like this is an individual journey, because when one is surrounded at first only by other individuals who will do everything almost to protect the unnaturality and to deny it. So one at first is almost having to do all this waking up on its own, because in most cases the people around that surround one will not join, let's say, the same path, will not join the same journey. They will be too scared. They'll be even unconscious that they are scared about it. The fear that plagues our human consciousness at the core of it is so grand that it makes us unconscious. So to truly wake up, it's a terrible process at first. To truly wake up means to face that terrible sense of fear, that paralyzes almost one's entire being. So one has to find its own ways to gradually look into that terrible truth and into that fear. And that fear will always be there to try to numb one back to sleep. So it's a constant effort. Waking up, it's a constant effort. Waking up is far from being just figuring out that, for example, like governments are lying or whatever people are thinking that waking up is about. That's almost not even anything related to waking up, truly waking up. Truly waking up has almost zero to do with realizing that how systems work in this reality, and that the fact that they are false. That requires almost just a keen eye and an intelligent mind to a certain degree to just figure it out. It's obvious that systems here are working faulty, but that's far from being what true waking up of our spirit means. This disease that we are under is so profound that I doubt that most people could even comprehend and have comprehended. It goes on to such core levels of the human consciousness that becomes unspeakable of. So what we see in the outside reality is just a mere projection of it. But what goes on mainly goes on internally. And it's an inside job. It's an interior thing and job and work to do. So this, from my experience so far, can only be done bit by bit. I even question spiritual enlightenment right now. I even question the so-called enlightened beings. I question how much they actually faced this core terrible fear and this core terrible truth that the human psyche itself is in terror about, at the root of it. I question how much these enlightened beings actually went through this actual process. I'm far from saying some of them haven't gone through it, but I question how much many of them have gone through this process and have faced those fears, that terrible fear and terror existing at the core of the human consciousness. So waking up is a terrible process, from my experience at least. So terrible that most of us just prefer to go back to sleep. And as I said, it just started to come to me recently and to understand it through myself that I think this journey of truly waking up and remembering ourselves as our true self has almost two parts to it, this journey. And I think the first part is an individual part. Somehow, I think Neo from Matrix got lucky to have somebody come and wake him up in a way and give him the chance to truly wake up. But I think for most of us, this waking up is like, there is a call for sure. In our lives, there is always that call happening because we can't do it without that call. So something comes and gives us the opportunity to take the red pill, let's say. And some of us take it and some of us don't. But for those who take it, I think what happens then is that after we accept the call, similar to Joseph Campbell's in the hero's journey, after we accept the call to adventure, as he named it, but here it would be just the call to truth, to truly becoming oneself, to truly wake up. After we accept the call, a terrible journey starts at first. And this journey is not anything cute and easy and enlightenment and butterflies and rainbows. Actually, this first part of the journey requires so much effort, so much courage. It requires everything. All the strength, all the power, everything, all the determination, the love, everything that being possesses, the most precious and pure things and internal strengths that being has, all of them have to be used to their outermost capacity, just to be able to make some few steps on this journey. And the first part of the journey, I think, is made to be walked alone, because we ourselves, we are the only ones who are ownership of our own mind and of our own psyche. Nothing can convince us to truly change our perspective of things. Millions of people could come in the exterior of us and they could literally spell out truth for us, and we couldn't grasp it or understand it if we ourselves didn't put in the effort and the work enough to morph our mind, to allow our mind to change. No one can change our mind. What everybody can do is just to invite us, to give us an invitation, a clue, a hint, a help that can inspire us to start changing our own mind. But no one can change our mind for us. We are the only owners of our own mind. So we are the only ones who at first need to convince ourselves and to shatter the sleep from our own eyes and to see the unnaturality that we are living in. No one can convince us that this world is unnatural. We have to see it for ourselves. We have to convince our own mind. We have to work with our own mind, and that's the main effort. And with our soul as well, because these two, the mind and the soul, they're always connected together. The mind being the masculine, the immature masculine energy, as I described it, and the soul being the immature feminine energy. And these two, the immature masculine and the immature feminine, they are only together. They are always conjuring up realities and modes of perception and of being together. They are fabricating our own perception, the mind and the soul together. So we have to work with our own mind and soul, and that's a journey on its own, because the soul is terrified of truth, and the mind does everything in its power to protect the soul from being exposed to the truth. So the mind will make up stories, infinite stories about anything else but the truth. And that's an individual journey to really uncover truth and to really start to see just a bit of the true condition that we are living under right now, of the terrible condition that we are living under right now. The condition that we are truly living under is so terrible that it's so much pain that this is what keeps us unconscious. We can't deal with it. This is how much terror and pain we are under constantly. And while our mind thinks we are good, while our mind thinks, oh, I'm just having my human life, I was born here to, yeah, there is good, there is bad. Well, that's life. It has ups and it has downs, and I have been born here. I don't know why. I can't remember anything, but I know I've been born here because this is what I've been told, and I've seen other babies being born, so I was born like them, and this is life. This is what I am. Who knows what life is? Only God knows it, or only who knows. It's not up to me to understand my life or this world that I am in. That's only for gods or for saints or for other beings, but not for me. I can't do it. So most people just take things as they are. And that's far from being out of an ill manner, or that's just the fear that exists at the core of our human consciousness, freezing their mind and making them paralyzed, making them so paralyzed with that fear that they become automatons, they become robots. They can't act, they are just in constant fear at the level of their soul, so their mind can't truly think in a proper way, so their mind only thinks in a story or narrative-like mode, where their mind is always fabricating stories, so they become like robots, controlled by their mind and their soul that is in terror. So most people just take this reality to be sometimes even pleasurable. Oh yeah, there are bad things in this reality, but we also have beauty, and we also have art, and I also love art, by the way, and I also see beauty in this world. And I feel in reverence of the beauty that I'm seeing when I see it. And that's a true thing in this reality. But I just know that the beauty that we are seeing in this reality is only like a shadow compared to the true beauty that exists, but we are not recognizing it yet. To the true beauty of what life truly is. The beauty that we see here in this reality is only like a mere shadow compared to that. But I feel in reverence of this beauty even so, because it reminds me of truth. It reminds me of the real life. So, what most people think is like, yeah, well, this reality is good, but it's also bad. Or it's bad, but it's also good. And this is how things are. This is how God created this world. And what can we do about it? We are just mere humans. So most people, just out of that terrifying fear, they are just accepting things as they are. They don't even, their mind cannot even conjure up an ounce of courage to question, or to question the unnaturality, to question the visible atrocities that are happening and the visible unnaturality that are happening all around. And that beauty that this world has, if we look up closely, it's like disappearing more and more. It's like this diseased human psyche is killing the beauty in everything more and more. Look how music was 20 or 30 years ago. You could feel something in that music. Look how music was 100 years back or 200 years back. There was such a quality to music. Look at the music that is done today. Where is the beauty in it? Where is the art? Where is the reverence to life that you feel when you listen to it? It's absent. Look at the art today and compare it to the art of the Renaissance. How much do you feel inspired after looking at an artwork of today? Even if it has beautiful colors. How much do you feel inspired to live and to be and to thrive and to be creative and to have these incredible spikes of inspirations and ideas only when you look at an artwork? How much of this effect does the artwork of today contain? And it's similar with everything. The quality of food has diminished over the last 20 or 30 years. Everything is going like in a downward spiral. Life is dying out in this human story right now. Life is dying out. And the unnaturality is so visible right now that it's almost, you have to be stubborn not to recognize it. You have to truly be so stubborn to not see it at this point. It's so visible, the unnatural condition that we are living under. We are so disconnected from everything, from one another. We are disconnected from the planet, the so-called planet that we are in, the trees, the sky, the atmosphere, the water, the elements. We can't speak to them anymore. We can't communicate with them. So we in a natural world, there would be constant communication between everything and all elements. So there would be no need to cut trees to heat ourselves, because we could talk with our own body and we could modify the temperature of our body. We wouldn't need to cut trees to heat ourselves from the exterior of ourselves. We could heat our body from internal heat, internal combustion. If we would need anything from nature, we could just talk and everything, just have a normal conversation with the water, the trees, the atmosphere, and we could just have a normal conversation like you would have with another human being, and we could arrange together. For example, you need something from the tree, you talk with the tree, and you arrange together a deal with it. The trees, the nature, everything is so ready to help humanity. But humanity is killing their only helpers. basically, at this point. They are killing the only thing that is there to truly for humanity, which is nature, which is the atmosphere, the sky, the water, the elements. They are here for humanity. Like the placenta that is growing a baby. This is what nature is to humanity. It's like a placenta. It plays the role of the placenta. It offers everything for us to grow as a human psyche, but we are currently killing our own placenta that is birthing us. So the unnaturality is so visible at this moment that one has to be truly stubborn to remain blind, not to see it. This is why the ones that are truly making the effort to truly wake up and sustain that state of waking up, truly waking up, as I mentioned, not a fake waking up, but the true waking up, which is a terrible process. The few that are making this process, and they are standing with all their strength and all their courage and all that they have internally, and they are facing their fear, that core condition, that core fear that exists at the root of our human consciousness. These ones, in my opinion, are the pioneers of the next world, of the new world. A new world which is an old world, paradoxically. This is the natural way of being which existed before the unnaturality came. And almost like a plague, like a cancer has plagued the world. Even the sounds, like you have these machines, like a tractor or whatever you could call it in English, going on the streets. There's such a noise pollution everywhere. Only the noise itself, if you look at it, is so much pollution. So many devices that the humanity has created that are really messing up the brain, because we need quietness. Our own brain cannot properly function in this much amount of constant noise, by the way. There is a constant noise everywhere, not to mention in the cities, what it is to live in a city. But everywhere you go, there is a constant noise, even in the country parts. Someone is always cutting the grass or doing something with an electrical or machine that you always, there is noises everywhere. And these are disturbing noises that are disturbing the brain constantly. You can't think properly, you can't have a true perception of reality with all these noises that are constantly interrupting and disturbing the brain. That's just another aspect of this unnaturality. Houses, they are terrible, made out of wood that has been cut from nature. We are cutting our own placenta to imagine building a symbol of that placenta, which would be a house. We are cutting the true placenta to create our own placenta, which we imagine that it would protect us from the true placenta. It's so unnatural, it's so messed up. We are cutting the trees to create houses. Like, it's unimaginable, the unnaturality. The way we eat is such an unconscious way. Our bodies can hardly sustain the way we eat anymore. It's so much unnaturality in the way we eat. We eat food in such an unconscious way, when food is one of the most sacred acts that exist. It's similar to making love. Eating food is similar to making love. You are ingesting a portion of the universe, a portion of reality, a portion which has spirit in it. You are ingesting it and you are bringing it within yourself. That's the true act of eating. It's like taking something which is outside of you and you are bringing it within yourself so you can unite with it, so you can merge with it, so it becomes you and you become it. Imagine the sacredness or profundity of this act. And most people are just stuffing their mouth with food, and that's not even the problem. The problem is that they do not even pay the least attention to this act of consuming food. That's the true damage that they are doing to themselves. Because one could even stuff its mouth with food. It could eat from, I don't know, the fast food, which is the cheapest and most low and true nutrients and almost killing the health of the body. But you could even eat that unhealthy food. But if you eat it with attention, and if you give it your whole being in that moment, that act alone of eating it with full awareness, with full attention, with your entire being, giving yourself fully to that act of eating, that act alone would change everything, would even make you so aware of that food, of your body, of so much. It would change everything in your life. It would change your relation with everything, not only with food. It would give you so much in return. And you would give so much in return to that food. But who eats like this? Most people nowadays, they are eating while watching a movie. They are eating while watching TV, while scrolling their phone or talking to somebody. That's such, like, I don't even know how to find words to describe how much harm one does to eat like that. In that sacred moment of eating, to start to be aware, to start scrolling your phone instead of being there fully with your food, that is a portion of God, let's say, of spirit, of nature, let's say, because nature is not spirit, but nature has spirit in it. So you're ingesting a portion of spirit. It's like God offering itself to you, and you, instead of being there fully in presence with that act, what are you doing? You're like giving all your attention, all your soul, all your energy to what? Some images on a phone that mean nothing, that they exist today but they will not exist tomorrow. So you're expanding your beingness, your soul. Everything that you have the most precious is your soul, your awareness, your beingness. And you're giving that to those images on the phone instead of giving it to the food that is there for you to meet you. Imagine that. Imagine that Un-Naturality. So that's just another aspect. But there are so many aspects, like everywhere one looks, we can see that almost everything has been converted from natural to unnatural. The way people make love is just, I recently started to see this, like, oh my lord, it's like when you start to freaking see how unnatural making love is at this human realm right now, like to use a condom. Oh my god, like I started seeing, I think 1 month ago, like, oh my god, the harm that is produced at the level of one's interior psyche and nervous system and cognition when one uses a condom. Like, imagine all that life force wanting to come out, and one is collecting it in like a plastic bag. It's like, imagine all that life force that is pouring from that being in that moment, and it is pouring with only one single objective: to procreate. And what does it do with that full energy that pours from it with all its force what does it do? It just stops it from reaching its goal. It's just amputating that force. Oh my God, like the energetic harm that one is doing with this, I can't even describe it when one starts being aware of this. Like, why would you even do that? It's so unnatural. Like, the harm men are doing to themselves doing this, like, one would even think you're insane for saying this alone. But men are castrating themselves by doing this act. They are freaking turning themselves into, basically, they are killing their own masculinity by doing this. But they don't realize, they even think that this is an act of showing their masculinity. So unnatural. Exactly as I said, everything is upside down. Everything has been converted almost from natural to unnatural. We have been learning to do almost everything like this. Everything. Our thinking, our feeling, our eating, our communication, everything, construction, technology, everything is like this. Nothing is properly the way it should be. Nothing. And to correct this unnaturality, we need to bring awareness. We need to first become aware of something, and only then can we aspire at changing that something. Only after we become aware through our own selves, as I said before, of this unnaturality, can we start to find means to change it. Because as I said before, no one can convince us that this world is unnatural. Your mind will not allow another mind to convince it of something else. It has to only be you as spirit, that you are becoming present in your own mind and in your own body and in your own soul, and it is only you that have the authority enough, and your mind will listen to, and your soul will recognize you as spirit, and your body, oh my God, your body is the first one who truly sees you and recognizes you always and waits for you as spirit. I mean, now I'm talking about you as spirit. So this is an individual process. No one can convince us of this unnaturality. No one can. Our mind will not allow another mind to convince it. It has to come from within, from the true knowledge of spirit. Spirit within has the only authority over one's mind, body, and soul. Your mind, body, and soul, one's mind, body, and soul will not listen to anybody else, but to its own spirit. This is why at this moment I only see that there is only spirit. This is a call for spirit. There is zero time left. I've said this already in 3 recordings. There is zero time left. As I see it, this is it. This is it. There is zero time left. We need spirit to fully become aware in our bodies, minds, and souls here, right now, in this reality. Spirit is the only one who, by awakening again in the human consciousness, which the human consciousness is just this trio of body, mind, and soul, only spirit, when it awakens in this human consciousness, in this system, can know how to restore this system to its natural form. Because in my opinion, the way I see it, it's either spirit or death. I don't think there is a recovery from this. I don't think the soul can recover itself anymore. It became too unnatural. It's only spirit that can save the soul right now. Similar to how it's only the so-called prince that can wake up the sleeping beauty. The soul is the sleeping beauty, which is having a nightmare right now. And the spirit is the masculine force, which it's the only force that can wake up. The feminine force, which is the soul, and is sleeping and is dreaming a nightmare right now. So, it's time for spirit. Spirit is the only one which can give us both the knowledge and can help us see again the unnaturality that we are living in, and the strength. And the strength and the wisdom to know how to proceed about it. Because the knowledge that spirit comes with, it awakens the power of the soul. When spirit, which is the masculine energy, the mature masculine energy, wakes up, and the soul immediately feels it. The soul immediately recognizes spirit when spirit starts becoming active in this human consciousness. The soul recognizes the spirit, and once the soul recognizes the spirit, the soul wakes up from this nightmare. And the soul comes with a lot of power. The soul is the one that has the power. The feminine force is the one that holds the power. The spirit is outside of this dream, of this nightmare. It's outside of creation, outside of this entire cosmic realm, or drama, or comedy. Spirit is outside. Spirit has no force here, but it has, the only force that spirit has is the gnosis and the knowledge that it possesses about how things really are. And once the soul is again touched by this vision or light or knowledge, true knowledge with big K of spirit, then the soul truly wakes up and remembers itself. And when the true soul wakes up, well, that's true power. That's the sleeping beauty waking up and arranging again the entire realm. Because, as I said, the masculine, the mature masculine energy, it has no power. It's the soul energy, the mature feminine, that has the power. But now the mature feminine is asleep and dreaming a nightmare. She became the immature feminine, the impure feminine. So this is a call for spirit. This is time for spirit. Only spirit can make us see the unnaturality that we are living in, and can help our soul see again that this is a nightmare. This is not a dream. This is a nightmare we are living in right now. And the soul has to acknowledge that. Because once the soul acknowledges the nightmare it is under, it can foster the power to change it. It is the soul that is the creator. It is the soul that can change and manifest things. It is the soul that manifests reality, not the spirit. But our soul right now is the sleeping beauty. She sleeps, so we have to wake her up. And it is only spirit that can wake her up. And spirit can only come from within. It's an individual process. No one can give you access to spirit. You have to summon spirit. You have to be spirit. You have to activate spirit, your spirit, within you. So the ones that are managing to do this process, to wake up spirit inside their heart, yeah, exactly inside their heart, because it's only the heart which is the seat that can accommodate spirit. So it is only those who are able to truly wake up their own hearts, the spirit in their heart, and recognize the unnaturality that we are in, and start doing, and start just being there with that knowledge and that recognition of the unnaturality is so much. Just to be able to do this, just to be able to not hide again yourself from this pain that you are under, from this fear, from this complete nonsensical nightmare that we are living in. It's so much to just be present with the nightmare, with the pain, with the sorrow, with the terror. It's so much to just be able to withstand that pain lucidly. That's a heroic journey. That's a heroic work and act on its own. So just by being there lucid in this pain, one is doing already a Herculean job. But this Herculean job is putting like bricks to a new foundation of rebuilding this entire reality to its true form. Because nothing remains unnoticed. When we are able to bring spirit in this nightmare, is like having the eye of spirit waking up and seeing this unnatural reality. And once spirit becomes aware of the unnaturality that we are living in, that unnaturality is immediately changed. Our soul is waking up and seeing the unnaturality through the eyes of spirit. And the soul, as it recognizes the unnaturality it is living in, it is immediately changing it. But we cannot change that which we don't know. We have to become aware of the unnaturality first. So these human beings that are able to do this process and to withstand this pain, because it's a pain, as I said, and it's a terror at first to wake up, but to withstand it and to be present and lucid within their own terror and pain, and to stop running away from it, stop shoving their pain under their mental rugs. The beings that are doing this, they are the pioneers. They are the ones that are taking again the charge of this entire reality. They are the ones that are reviving this entire realm. And as much of these beings start to do this work, as much as this world is reviving, as much as our own individual souls become aware of the atrocities, the nonsensical, the insanity of this reality, as much as our individual souls start becoming aware of this through the eyes of spirit, which is anchored here, this is how much the soul of the world, the collective soul, is slowly waking up as well. So as many souls are waking up, this is how much the soul of the world is slowly waking up. And when the soul of the world is opening one eye up, then that's it. It's like the soul of the world, the collective feminine, let's say, when she wakes up, well, that's it. There is zero turning back to this un-naturality. She will redream this entire world to its actual form. Because now something happened and she dreamed it, and it became this nightmare. But she created it like this, and she can restore it to its natural form. And I believe, from what I'm seeing, that next form, it will be something unimaginable. We will not go back to the old form. There will be something completely new. There will be like a synthesis between the original dream and then this nightmare. And then you're drawn a synthesis from both of them. And it will be like unimaginable. But for this, we need to wake up the soul of the world. And the soul of the world can only be woken up by our individual souls waking up. So our individual feminine energy, the souls, have to wake up. And what can wake them up, as I said, is the masculine force, is spirit. So this is a time for spirit. This is a time for awareness. Spirit is the only one which can end this chapter of the story and at the same time open the door to the next one. Spirit is here to help humanity cross this bridge, to birth itself. It's a birthing that is happening right now.